on this week's full-time roundup. Champions League and Europa League knockouts are set, some changes that could impact future competitions, and Daniel and Matt get you ready for the weekend fixtures ahead. Plus, a major announcement from us. Full-time roundup starts right now. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning into another midweek show of the Full-Time Roundup. We have a lot to discuss today. Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League. Did not disappoint, especially in the last week of group stages. But first of all, and most importantly, Matt, how are you doing today?
Daniel, can't complain. We are here recording at Heist Brewery this evening. Lots of holiday parties and some decorations going on. Of course, festivities are being commenced and holidays are starting. I know you're on your way out here as well for a nice, as if you don't travel enough already, getting to go on a nice little getaway on the cruise, so enjoy that. But yeah, all in all, can't complain. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good, especially with this traveling trip on the parents' dime. So I'm gonna
can't go wrong with the parents' dime.
Can't go wrong with that. So we'll be on a cruise. So we'll go ahead and get it out of the way. We do have an announcement. So tomorrow we will be pre-recording an MLS special to be done, and it will be posted for our midweek show next week. And then that will have a special guest that we won't name on potentially for Monday or Sunday, depending on when they do it. So I will be MIA, but I am excited to kind of watch the games on the cruise and kind of see and catch up a little bit when we get back. But should we just jump right in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, so how we're going to do today is we're going to go over the groups that we really want to talk about and then kind of recap the Champions League on how it went. So first, I just wanted to give a moment of silence for this UCL group format. Give it a nice 5 seconds.
And 5 seconds.
It will be missed. It will be missed. I'm pretty upset about the new format. We'll actually get to that after. But first, Group A. So Bayern Munich topped the group and they beat Manchester United at Old Trafford on the last day. And Copenhagen shocked Galatasaray. Was this a surprise for you, or are you kind of shocked, or not really?
A couple surprises. Firstly, one of the easier groups that was part of this round of the group stage, and you're surprised that Manchester United are not only not advancing but finished last in the group. I think that's just a testament to where this squad is at the moment, and the club. There's a lot going on. A lot circling around there. Is Erik ten Hag going to make it through the holiday? Of course, they have a huge matchup against their arguably biggest rival this weekend that we'll get to. Could that be, the last straw for Erik ten Hag? We'll see. But all in all, Copenhagen was a huge surprise. Not necessarily one of those teams to be expected to get to the knockout, but a great story nonetheless. We've talked about them a couple times on the pod when we were recapping Champions League, and they really impressed. And they deserve to move on. 1-0 win at home against Galatasaray, and you could see what it meant to not only the players but the stands and the fans and the city, and ultimately they represent Denmark as a whole for the country. So a really good story. But yeah, ultimately this comes down to Manchester United, as it always does, not advancing, and really surprising that again they do finish last in the group.
Yeah, and I made a joke in our group chat and didn't get many plaudits or actually any responses, but I said, and this team isn't the dip can that we know. This is a completely different animal. So I'm gonna hit and miss with that one again. But when you think of cup competitions, everyone always roots for the underdog, and I feel like this Copenhagen team is probably the biggest surprise of this competition so far, just punching so much above their weight and their wage bill, and they have, mixing it with old players and young players like Rooney Bargi came up big against Manchester United a couple weeks ago. So Copenhagen, I've been really impressed with them. I'm a little disappointed that Galatasaray didn't do more in this match, especially when Copenhagen went down a man. Because I thought they were kind of in the driver's seat to get the second spot. But at the end of the day, Manchester United gets knocked out. Kind of what I wanted to see. Galatasaray still will be playing in Europa League, and you get to see a cool story like Copenhagen go. But I'm still not convinced on Bayern either, especially with this is a really bad United team, and they only beat them 1-0. And yes, they did have more chances, but still, I don't know. I just feel like people are slowly and quietly turning on Tuchel, and it's going to be interesting situation to monitor when this festive fixture kind of picks up.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. And obviously, we touched on it. Manchester United, regardless what happened in that matchup against Galatasaray and Copenhagen, they was kind of out of their control. What they could have done was won the game, right, against Bayern Munich, and they just came out of the game flat. And that, to your point, is Bayern Munich really that good? We don't really know. Of course, they got drubbed. They got drubbed 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt on the weekend. So you kind of expected a bounce back, and of course they dominated possession on the road, which is a surprise. But to me, we really don't know because this United team is just that bad. And one thing, just to put a finer point on this group before we move on, I know that Copenhagen are going to be the team that everybody wants to get in the knockout just because of where they sit on the table or their their perception as a club. But let me tell you something: you don't want to go to Copenhagen on that reverse fixture and have to get a result to advance. So just be careful what you wish for. Of course, you don't expect them to advance, but they will be a tough out for whoever they get.
Are we going to change the saying to, instead of "Can you do it on a rainy day in Stoke" to "Can you do it on a rainy day in Copenhagen"?
Snowy day in Copenhagen.
Snowy day in Copenhagen. I kind of like that better, honestly. We've heard those jokes as we were trying to get Charles FC were trying to get the Dean Smith manager, and Stoke tried to swoop it at the last second. So fuck off, Stoke, we got them. But to rotate to Group B here, Arsenal go top. They play a pretty good game against PSV, who's in second. Lens makes third, and Sevilla, thank goodness for my team Liverpool, will not be entering the Europa League. Did you have any, other than Sergio Ramos being the top defender, goal scorer of all time, which you just shook your head, do you have any other conclusions when it comes to this?
Arsenal looked to be the class of the group, of course. They didn't really give their best performance here. They didn't need to. They had already advanced. PSV gets the necessary result to advance.
The Americans too.
Americans do, yeah, they do deliver. Nothing really surprised me from this. I said earlier on, I guess Sevilla not making it to Europa was surprising. I had Lens finishing fourth, and so props to them to advancing. But that'll be a good competition for them to get some Europa League experience. And they're struggling in the French league right now, but a good opportunity for them. And like you said, kind of a nice reprieve for all the teams in Europa League that Sevilla aren't there. So all in all, this group was pretty much what I expected, especially going into the last day. There wasn't too much to play for here.
Yeah, and Twitter being the funny place it is, it can be a bad place, but if you follow the right people and get the right algorithm, it can be pretty funny, especially with the soccer world. And there was a montage of Klopp just doing the air pumps when we found out that Sevilla wasn't going to make it through, and I thought that was pretty funny. But I loved how especially American fans have been chirping PSV. Just Pepe's just averaging a goal and an assist every 60 minutes or so, and he hasn't gotten one start this season. What the hell is going on? And he finally gets to start today, and he has a beautiful assist. Malik Tillman kind of sets up the chance, and then Pepe slides it across for the goal. Serginho Dest made his nice highlight reel on Instagram, had a nice meg. And the Americans are playing well, and I don't know if you saw, but DeMarcus Beasley has set up a thing now in more of the Northeast, I guess. Setting up academies for PSV to scout. So with Ernie Stewart at president, this PSV club is turning into a pipeline for U.S. American players. And
well, we saw how that turned out with one club before, so just be careful of that.
But hey, I'm the glass half full. You might be the glass half empty on this one. But I'm excited, and I think this group, other than Sevilla not making Europe and getting bumped out, was the only surprise. But maybe this is a blessing in disguise, as they're not doing hot in the league, and they can kind of focus on being top or competing for top 7 here. But to move on here, I selected this group just because I could not believe that in Group D, Real Sociedad topped the group. Inter was level on points, but head-to-head, Real Sociedad had the edge. And then Benfica who we kind of were shitting on earlier in the year, actually made it to Europe, and Salzburg are the one that gets bounced out. Were you able to kind of draw any conclusions from this?
We've talked about Real Sociedad and how good they are. They're fighting for that 4th spot probably in La Liga as well. And by the way, just a shout out that four of the teams in La Liga advance in the top pot 1.
Which means they get an extra spot. I think I saw Serie A and Serie A and Spain get the extra spot next year because of those teams.
Interesting. That would make sense.
And because, England doesn't get one because Man United shit the bed. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting...
Yeah, absolutely. And so, that's the surprise to me. Of course, I think Inter, no one wants to fight against them as a pot 2 team. So a team that arguably could win the whole thing is going to be, getting a top opponent in the next round. So watch out for that. But Real Sociedad are a solid squad, and wouldn't surprise me if they advance out of this next round, depending if they get luck of the draw a little bit, as some of these things are. They could get PSG, which complicates things a little bit. But from my perspective, Benfica is a perennial team that you usually see in the knockout stage, and so that was a tougher group than I think people realize. And of course, you're still playing in Europe, so ultimately, is it that bad? But of course, you want to be in the knockout of the Champions League.
They went winless for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then they were able to, scrunch up a draw against Inter Milan, even though they were up 3-0, and then they beat Salzburg on the last day. So at the end of the day, kind of crisis averted. So it's good to see that Benfica kind of were able to, rebound a little bit. But Salzburg's a good side too, so it leaves me wanting more from them, and I just love how they recruit youth products and give them a chance. So we'll be seeing them in the Champions League again next year, and they'll probably have a new coach by then, which means they'll go farther. But this is the most open Champions League I think I've seen in a long time, where there's not, I guess City is the favorite at this point, but everyone else is, I don't know, the perennial teams aren't that convincing this year. So a team like Real Sociedad or Inter could, see themselves going to the final, kind of like both Milan teams did last year. And to cap it off with the Champions League, kind of more in-depth talking, Group F, the group of death. What can you say? I know you love to say that. And a surprise first place with Dortmund topping the group, PSG in second. Milan leapfrogged Newcastle on the last day. This last day, watching kind of the Golazo network, they kept switching back and forth because you didn't know what could happen. The whole table could change in a matter of seconds.
And it did. It was instant. It
was crazy.
It was changing minute by minute. PSG go down. At one point, they were out entirely, or at least in Europa, which would have been maybe the biggest story of the group stage. And then Newcastle kind of run out of gas and get knocked out of Europe entirely. To your point, though, about this being wide open, a team like Dortmund, who we've talked about in the league and how their struggles have been, they top this group, and they have a real chance, depending on who they get in the draw, to kind of continue advancing. And they could be one of those teams that get to the semifinals or even a final, and yet domestically they're very poor. So this has been, wide open. This group epitomized kind of what this Champions League is this year. Exactly. And so, it wasn't the greatest football. It wasn't like every game was thrilling, but it was open, and you never knew what you were going to get. And again, this group, that last 20 minutes of it was just what you love about Champions League football. Just every time someone went up and down the pitch, there are implications on the table. And unfortunately for Newcastle, you hate to see how they kind of sputtered out. It was testament to how they play, though. They want to play forward. They want to play advancing. Of course, they live and die off the crowd there at St. James's Park, who wants to see them play more aggressive football. But you wonder if they could have sat back a little bit, been a little bit more pragmatic. All they needed was a draw. They had the one-up lead, so they really had a goal to give as well. And yet they still were aggressive and forward, and they got burned on it, and they're out. But ultimately, with their situation, might not be the worst thing for them this year, honestly.
Yeah, I drew a couple conclusions from this group, because this was the most probably entertaining group out of all of them. Number one, PSG not topping the group is an absolute atrocity. That's unacceptable, even if you're going through. The fact that there was a moment where you were put in a Europa League spot is completely unacceptable from their standards. Number two, Herzik his seat just got a lot less hot. Probably cool now that he was able to top the group and probably the hardest group of the Champions League. Number 3, Newcastle and Eddie Howe showed their unexperience in the Champions League. And all these teams, I mean, we're talking about an AC Milan team that went to the semifinals last year. PSG were in the final a couple years ago, and Dortmund are always in it. So Newcastle, the most unexperienced out of the bunch, ends up getting knocked out. So this is kind of how it goes here. But are their owners, the Saudis, gonna accept kind of this failure? They're on a pretty bad stretch at this point, and
they are banged up. I mean, they're basically playing you and I out there right now. So
yeah, well, that would be a good thing for some, but I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and Pioli just might have saved his job with this result. So we've been talking about the coaching carousel a lot recently, and I just wanted to touch on that. Just to real quickly go through the other 3 groups. Group C, Madrid topped the group, Napoli in second, Braga to Europa, which is a great story. If you don't know much about Braga, do a little research into them. They've done a great job over the years, kind of becoming a really top perennial club in Portugal. And then Union Berlin, a little bit too late there. They started out really shitty, and they kind of have rebounded once the new coach has come in, and they gave Madrid a game. So Union, what a good story though. So even being in the Champions League. Group E, Athletic Madrid topped the group, Lazio in second. So Sarri kind of saves his job, getting through the knockout stages. Feyenoord to the Europa League, which we both had Feyenoord progressing, so that was kind of a surprise for me. And then Celtic, not surprisingly, getting bumped as they were absolutely dreadful until the last game. Group G, City, perfect. It's kind of what you expected. Leipzig in second. Young Boys in Europa, and I'm not even going to try to say the name who got knocked out. But
Belgrade Red Star is their name that they go by otherwise. So
is that
is Red Star.
Oh, okay, thank you. I did not know that. And then Group H, Barca topped the group somehow, Porto in second, Shakhtar Europa, which is a great story considering they didn't play a single home game this entire competition. And then Antwerp, a little too late, I guess, what you could say, as they beat Barca on the final day. So that's kind of how Champions League shook out. We'll miss it, the format and everything. But we can kind of address the new format. Matt, you're kind of the expert on this. Can you just quickly summarize this new format?
Yeah, so it's an extension of the tournament, as we've seen across the board. Of course, the World Cup will be expanded as well. Ultimately, what this comes down to is more games for the teams and more money for the TV revenue. So next year, the tournament will be
more games.
It's more games. So it'll be expanded to 36 teams from 32 as it currently sits, and then there'll be a 36-team league essentially. There'll still be a draw. There'll still be a seeding or placement of the ranking of 1 through 36 based off of various criteria that I think they're still figuring out. And then basically there'll be an 8, instead of 6 games in the group, they'll play 8 games in the group. And then, but there is the opportunity for pot 1 teams to play each other now versus how they do it in current format. So some bigger games that'll happen in the group stage. Of course, with more teams, it means more teams advance. So those bigger games that happen between a PSG or a Man City in the group stage may not have as much effect on either team advancing as it does now. And then, of course, we're just looking at a bigger knockout tournament. So 24 teams will advance to the knockout versus 16 now. A lot to unpack as far as how that's going to work. They just started to release some information about it. From my perspective, I think it's a sham. I love the format. I love the way it's been this time. And of course, you're just asking more guys to play more games, and
it's disgusting.
It's kind of just what the nature of the business is right now, and it's not the best for anybody. We've seen players get hurt, with these extra games, and the product on the field is not as good as if they were playing a regular schedule that we're very used to. So we'll see what happens. Of course, like Daniel said, it's the end of an era for the Champions League, but like anything else, it evolves, and of course we'll all still watch it week after week next time when it comes back around.
Yeah, we will. But I mean, you've heard a lot of coaches and players come out the last couple of years say, the amount of games they're having to play in one season is getting ridiculous, and it just keeps getting worse. And when is this going to end? I really don't know. Everything's just a money grab at this rate, so I'm pretty disappointed. I didn't realize it was going to be more games, so pretty disgusted by that. People say change is good. I don't know if this one is, but I mean, I guess we'll have to find out. And no matter what, we're going to cover it anyway. So, but to kind of move on to Europa League, just a couple quick groups I just wanted to touch on to see how it shook out. Group B, Brighton top the group after a big win today against Marseille. Marseille's in second. Ajax kind of bounced back in a big way in the league and in the table, as they now have Europa Conference League, which will be huge for their finances. And then Athens is the unfortunate team to get knocked out. Group C, Rangers top, Sparta Prague in second, which is a big surprise for me personally. Betis in Europa Conference League, and then I'm not even going to mention the other team that got knocked out. But this Group C was actually kind of the group of death here that no one expected, because that last day was kind of like that Paris group where things were just changing every single goal that was scored, and I actually caught myself tuning way more into this group than any other groups today. Group D, Atalanta top the group. It's actually a pretty cool achievement for them. Lisbon in second, Sturm Graz in Europa, and then Group E, Liverpool, the favorites probably top, Toulouse in second, Union Saint-Gilloise in third. We got teams like Leverkusen who still are, just keep chugging along, winning. They killed Molde today. Roma advanced, just to name a few. So I just wanted to hit on a very high level today.
Of course, before I mention that, I want to go back for a second. The Champions League draw will be on Monday, so we'll find out the matchups on Monday. I think Europa League is Tuesday, if I remember correctly. Any team that stands out to you from a Liverpool perspective that you don't want to play? Obviously, you guys are in Pot 1, so you can only play Pot 2 teams. But anyone that, there's also a stipulation you can't play your own league, and you can't play the second place in your group. So it does narrow down who you can play. So, Liverpool won't play Leverkusen in the first knockout phase, but anyone that you're kind of worried about?
I mean, the two best teams that I've seen are probably Marseille and another team, Sporting Lisbon. Am I worried about it? No. But I'd rather have a cupcake opponent like Sparta Prague any day of the week. So, I mean, I other than Leverkusen, there's not a single team. But you also, as we forgot to mention, teams are coming down. So
that's true.
I didn't even look at that. I mean, Feyenoord wouldn't be fun. Milan wouldn't be fun.
Young Boys would be a tough one.
I guess.
On the turf.
Something like there's like some weird opponents that like playing that double fixture would be kind of weird. Galatasaray don't really want to play at home there in Turkey. Those fans are pretty wild. So I mean, I'm not that worried. I think that Klopp really wants to win this tournament. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But there's definitely opponents that I rather not. If that makes sense.
That's fair. And I mean, to be fair, you're in a tournament too, so I can't say anything. We're just looking and having fun and waving goodbye to our players. But it'll be interesting. Of course, you mentioned some of those Champions League teams coming down as well. So we'll cover everything as far as the draws are concerned. Like I said, Monday for Champions League. I believe it's Tuesday for Europa. We'll double check on that. But there's some great matchups coming, Daniel. This is the best time once things get going.
Yeah, and maybe if you guys would like, we can do kind of predictions on how everything shakes out on a show in the future once I get back, and that might be fun. Or you and the special guest could talk about that. So you'll definitely hear from us regarding kind of either when this competition starts back up or kind of as the draw will come out, some hot takes from us on how the Champions League Europa League will shake out. So after the break here, we will get back to the predictions for this weekend. Gotta get slate here, but as always, please like, subscribe, download, re-download, and rate the pod as it helps to spread the brand. And follow us on Twitter @FullTimeRoundup. We try to stay pretty active and have some commentary and everything like that. And follow Matt at Life of Gesslin, and you can follow me at any time at Liverpool CLTFC. After this break, we'll break down the games. Be right back. And we're back. Predictions. Got, a couple teams from different leagues, so we kind of mixed it up, kept it pretty diverse this time, and to start it out, Liverpool, Manchester United. Hold on.
Am I asking this one for you, or how are we doing it?
Reverse
that? Yeah, let me reverse that one, because I feel like that should never come to me first.
That's true.
Manchester United versus Liverpool. Daniel, what are we thinking?
Liverpool's going to clap that ass. And I think Ten Hag is going to be so embarrassed that he will not be the manager. They might fire him on the field like Arizona State did last year in football, if you ever saw that.
I did not, but that wouldn't surprise me.
He was walking off the field and the board literally just told him he's fired on the field. It was insane.
We could be at that point for sure. Of course, last year's matchup was 7-0. Liverpool in this fixture.
That was a Ten Hag error.
It was.
Yes.
You didn't give me a score here, so I'm going to wait for it.
5-1.
Wow, 5-1. I think it's closer. I don't think that they get blown out.
They needed to show up against Bayern, and they were lackluster.
I don't disagree, but there's something about this team that they always find a way to keep them around just a little bit longer. I don't think that they
Bruno,
win.
No Harry Maguire?
No Luke Shaw.
No Luke Shaw.
I don't think they win, but I'll say 2-1. 2-1 Liverpool.
That close.
I do think
That's
so.
insane. I mean, I've never felt so good about a game in my entire life. All right, but we got that out of the way. I mean, it's going to be ugly, folks. Manchester United fans, don't even turn on the TV. Arsenal versus Brighton. How do you think this game takes out?
Well, this one will be closer than the experts think. I think Arsenal have kind of turned the corner a little bit as far as just the consistency on the pitch. We saw earlier on they were still kind of start and stop. I think they were, of course, last season's roster was such an oiled machine. They played week in, week out, same roster. Now Arteta needs to make some changes, get guys in, rotate things with Europe and stuff. I still think, though, 2-1, too much firepower at home in this one. Give me Arsenal, and they stay in the race.
You said 2-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Unlike the last game where it will be a one-horse race, I do think this will be a two-horse race here, but I do think Arsenal has the edge just due to injuries and the grind of Europe. Brian had to field a full, hard starting 11 against Marseille today as we're recording, so I'm sure you're going to see that in their legs. Arsenal rotated a bit against PSG, so I do think Arsenal has the edge here. I'm going to go 3-1 Gunners. To rotate over, Newcastle, Fulham. This game was like a fringe game for me, but I had a cool angle on this one, so I wanted to include it. What do you think?
I took Fulham in my upset pick for the week.
Feeling that too.
And so, of course, Fulham have scored 10 goals their last two games as well. Newcastle really, really banged up at this point. You kind of feel for Eddie Howe in the squad.
I don't.
2-1. Every game's been 2-1 here. 2-1 Fulham.
Yeah, Newcastle defense bad, Fulham offense good.
At the moment.
I'm gonna agree with you on 2-1, which I hate, and I love Fulham in this spot. I love them, and even if it's at the Toon Army's place, because I mean Newcastle are notoriously good at home, but I mean this is 3 straight L's for them in pretty bad fashion. Yeah, I like Fulham a lot here. To go over to Germany, Leverkusen, Frankfurt off a huge win against Bayern. Leverkusen just keep chugging along. What do you think about this one?
Leverkusen need this one. They can't drop more points. They of course drew Stuttgart. Got away with it, the fact that Bayern lost the way they did. 1-1.
I do think this is a draw. Stuttgart or not Stuttgart, sorry. Frankfurt are kind of sneaky good here. I'm gonna say 2-2. So the last German team we got is Bayern versus Stuttgart. You said Stuttgart off a draw, Bayern off a big loss, and the Champions League appearance midweek at Old Trafford. Do you think they'll get it done at home, or do you think Stuttgart's going to be sneaky in this match?
No, this one's all Bayern. I think from the start, 3-0 Bayern this one. One of those games I feel pretty confident in.
I said that last week, and they lost 5-1.
I did say that, but
so I'm gonna.
But the last time that happened, they ended up playing Der Klassiker and put Dortmund in its place. So I'll say 3-0 Bayern over Stuttgart.
I'm gonna say 2-1 Stuttgart. Actually, no, I'm gonna say 2-2 Stuttgart. I think Stuttgart get a point now. I think Bayern are a fucking fraudulent team. They suck.
You're making people in Leverkusen very happy right now.
And I think Stuttgart are for real, especially how they played against Leverkusen. This coach, this manager won't be here past this year. And a bunch of their players like Fulkrich and Garassi and Undab are getting a ton of interest. This is the center stage for them, and they're going to show up.
We'll see.
We'll see. I've said that before against Stuttgart, and they fucked me, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But to move over to the sunny beaches of Spain, Athletic Club versus Athletic Madrid. Athletic Club at home. What do you think?
Diego Simeone needs a serious win here. Of course, they got the win midweek in Champions League. If they want to keep in touch with, Barcelona and Madrid, they got to get this one done. Athletic Club though are good, especially at home, going Basque Country, but
off a draw though against a shitty team.
Give me Madrid. Antoine Griezmann gets a big goal here. He's actually 5 goals away from being the all-time scorer for Atleti. So I'll take Atleti. I think Morata gets one. I think Griezmann gets one. 2-0.
Morata underrated season, 1,000%. He's finally found a home. Matt also kisses his Griezmann poster every night before bed.
I do.
I'm gonna give
the pink hair one though.
The
Only
pink hair.
The pink hair. Yeah.
He's doing the TikTok or the the dance of the Fortnite dance. That's the picture he has on the wall here. But I'm gonna also give Madrid the edge here. I'm gonna say 2-1 Athletic Madrid. But this is gonna be a tight game, and it's gonna be a fun watch, I think. To rotate over, Real Sociedad versus Real Betis. Both had European fixtures this week. Betis off a loss against Rangers. Real Sociedad off a win, I believe. This is kind of the battle for our 4th spot that we predicted here. What do you think? Are you going to back your Betis team?
Of course I'm going to back my team. Nice. You have Athletic Club, who we previously just predicted. And I have Betis at 4th. I think this is a great matchup. This will be one of the matches of the weekend, I think. Both teams will go for it. Pellegrini's going to get his guys to be very aggressive. And I think you're going to see Betis and Isco get it done on the road and kind of get closer to that 4th position. 1-0 though. 1-0. Cagey, but fun to watch.
Okay. So, I mean, if I could, potentially switch my 4th pick, it would be Real Sociedad mid-year. So we're kind of going head-to-head here. Real Sociedad is a better team, a better coach, better on paper.
They play the games, though, Daniel. That's why they play the games.
I'm going to go 1-0, opposite side as you, Real Sociedad. Get it done. Now, the last Spanish game we have, which there's honestly a lot of good games in Spain this weekend. Real Madrid versus Villarreal. At the Bernabeu. What do you think?
Not close. 3-0, maybe 3-1. I'll go 3-1. Maybe. I think at the back is.
I think Villarreal can go goal.
Yeah, I agree. 3-1.
I'm going to actually agree with you, which means that
it'll probably lose. Yeah,
win.
Exactly.
But I do agree. I think Real Madrid get it done here, and Villarreal are just, there's something about them that just is kind of weak. I can't put my finger on it. They're a weird squad this year. To go to Italy.
Nap game.
This is your nap game?
My nap game.
I guess this is the only Italy game. I don't think Matt just likes the Italian league at all, but I can't blame him. It's very defensive. But Lazio at home, in a crisis in Serie A in the league, versus Inter, the best team in Italy by a country mile. Will Inter separate themselves and basically win the title here?
Win the title is a little much, but they will separate themselves. They get a big win. 2-1.
I'm going to go 2-0 Inter here.
Yeah, Lautaro Martinez just does not stop scoring, so he'll get one at least, and I think they win.
Maybe.
Thuram, yeah, they're solid. They're the best team in Italy by far.
Yeah, and shout out to Inzaghi here.
And you really don't want to play these guys in Champions League.
No,
that is for sure.
I'm glad they're in Champions League, not Europa League. To go over to France, your PSG play Lille. Lille's in 4th place. That's why I threw it on here. It's a top 4 clash here. Is this even going to be close? PSG are such a weird team right now. You never know what you're going to get. What do you think?
I don't think it's close, and the reason why, not only because just on paper PSG has much more talent, of course, as everybody knows, but I think there's a little bit of, we let one slip in the Champions League. We could have won that game and topped the group. You heard Zaire Emery after the game say that they really didn't play that well. They were pretty upset about it. So I think they come out, they try and right the ship, kind of get things going, especially, they know they're going to have a tough opponent in Champions League now and trying to kind of get things rolling a little bit. I think they win 3-0 pretty easy.
3-0.
Yeah.
Mbappe is just on such a different level than most players right now. I mean, you could argue he's the best player in the world other than, maybe Jude and maybe Grisou, maybe a couple others, but we say that the French League's weak, but he was just dominating in the Champions League, and he's unlucky not to have a few goals against Dortmund. So I'm gonna say 3-1 PSG, because I think that back line is suspect, and I think Donnarumma is still serving that suspension, which doesn't help them. To shift over to another game, Monaco versus Lyon. Lyon finally got a win in the league, but they have to play Monaco back to back, which kind of stinks for them. How do you think this match shakes out? Does Monaco kind of keep nipping at the heels of PSG?
I think Lyon get a result. I think it's 1-1 here. I think Monaco have a tendency to kind of make these games a little bit more difficult, and of course Lyon just historically are still a great club in France, and they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to just wither away into the sunset. Yeah, they may throw more rocks, but 1-1. I'll take a result here.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Lyon's defense is just so incredibly bad. When they won, I was watching the highlights, and they won off 4 set pieces, not a single one from open play. I'm going to go Monaco 3-1. To kind of shift it to Portugal, we got some insanely good matchups.
Top 4 matchups.
Top 4 matchups in one weekend. I don't know who scheduled that. Probably not the best, but Braga versus Benfica. Braga at home. Both played midweek. How do you think this one shakes out? This is very important for the title race.
It is. It's very important for the title race, and the game that we'll discuss after this one as well. Like I said, top 4 against each other this weekend in Portugal, which is pretty awesome. Pretty silly at the same time. Man. 2-2. Something has a draw, but a fun draw in this one.
I don't like agreeing with you, but Benfica just haven't shown enough for me. I feel like Di Maria has been really carrying this team, and they're really missing a player like Ncala Ramos, where they kind of eased to the title last year pretty easily. I'm going to say draw. I'm going to say 3-3. I think this will be a lot of goals. But it should be a fun watch if you are able. I think it's beIN Sports where they have it.
This will not be a nap game.
No, that will not be a nap game at all. And you'll probably see the shittiest refereeing you'll ever see, other than maybe the MLS.
Or the Turkish league. Oh,
Or
too,
the Turkish
too
league.
soon for that? Maybe we should.
well, that, yeah. If you didn't see, the referee literally got his ass beat on the field in 4K. He was on World Star appearance. But the switch to our last game, last but not least, Sporting Lisbon versus Porto. How do you think this match shakes out?
Porto really impressed me against Shakhtar, which I know doesn't sound like much,
manager,
but great manager, and they scored 5 goals. I think they continue to score goals. Sporting also scores goals.
Goals.
3-2 Porto. 3-2 Porto.
Wins. Okay. This weekend is very big for my Benfica future here. I'm gonna say a 2-2 draw. This might be a nap game, just how Sergio Conceição sets up his Porto team. But so if you're deciding between the two matches, I definitely would lean Braga Benfica here. But it should still be a fun one. I'm gonna still say 2-2 or 1-1. I'm gonna say draw. But that is it, folks. Just a reminder, I will be out, so tune in. Special appearance, should be a great one to recap this weekend's games. Please, again, like, subscribe, download, rate the podcast. That helps us spread the brand. Follow our Twitter at Fulltime Roundup. Follow Matt at Life of Gesslin. Follow me at Liverpool CLTFC. And have a fantastic weekend.